Welcome back to another video. My name is Stephen Foster. Before we get into this, I feel like everyone I have ever talked to about journaling does morning pages or has at least tried morning pages, or I guess at least has heard of morning pages. Here are just a few of the notebooks where I have tried morning pages, both the Bear and Figs. I have like a dozen of these that I've filled now, and Studio Needs Keep book, which I really like. And all these notebooks I've attempted to keep like a daily writing ritual or morning journaling routine in. Here's the big shift for me. As I started filling notebooks up, this right here is the bullet journal Leuchtturm collab. Talk a little bit more about this and why I think this is a great notebook as well. But I'm actually not really bullet journaling in this notebook anymore. I've more or less been using this for both commonplacing and just my own style of journaling, which I'll get to here in a sec. The shift for me was in my reflection. And I think if you're just gonna do morning pages and dump, but not reflect, I don't think that is helpful, or at least it wasn't helpful for me. What I ended up needing was that reflection. I needed to go back to what I was dumping onto the page. And that helped me see that, oh, I am running into some loops. Like I am not solving problems. I am like running into the same problems over and over again. And that reflection time helped me see that, but morning pages wasn't gonna get me to that place where I was able to make progress and move on from some of the things that I had been dealing with. So let me stop right there and just say, if you're doing morning pages, if it's working for you, if it feels productive, if it feels valuable to you, and you feel like, okay, yes, I am able to get things on the page, that is a huge level up, going from not getting something on the page to getting something on the page. Keep doing that. I don't have any like ill will towards anyone who is doing morning pages and feels like they're getting value out of it. What I will say is spend some time in reflection, both at a weekly cadence, a monthly or maybe quarterly cadence, and definitely like an annual cadence, and synthesize some of the key things that you see recurring, or give yourself some time to look at the narrative arc or put together a narrative arc between all those like sort of disparate thoughts and entries. Give yourself a few milestones and markers. I think this is really critical. And then go back and also look at like, hey, where did I not have progress, or where am I running into the same things that I don't want to be running into anymore? If you do that, maybe morning pages will still be valuable for you and that will be the right system for you. If not, well, either way, hopefully you'll keep watching this video, because this is what I've settled on. Rather than go directly to the page, the first thing I do every single morning, or instead of writing, I should say, is here. And I think I've shown this before in some of my pocket notebook videos, but this I call like my devotional map. And this is an older iteration of it. I have a newer iteration in my Paper Republic notebook that I can talk about in a little bit. But in here, I found sort of like a way that I could read a proverb and a psalm, or 5 psalms, every single day, every single month. In February, I end up just stacking the last few, I guess, of these proverbs and psalms. And then in months that have 31 days, I'll usually end up doing both the 31st proverb and the Magnificat. That is more or less how I do that. And then I go through the gospel mysteries via the rosary. And then this more has to do with my evening routine, so don't worry about that. I want to categorize this though, because there are 3 important things here. By doing the proverbs, I get some wisdom. By doing the psalms, I get some beauty. And by doing the gospel mysteries, I get some type of mystery. I think this is really powerful for starting off any journaling routine, because it adds like order and form to thought. And so I'm able to then take sort of like all the raw chaos that I would normally be dumping onto the page and instead order it through like a framework that is something bigger than myself. This helps anchor me. It only takes a few minutes in the morning to like go through those little bits. But that's sort of like the 3 category part: wisdom, beauty, mysticism. I think G.K. Chesterton said this best, was like, mysticism keeps men sane. As long as you have mystery, you have health. When you destroy mystery, you create morbidity. And the ordinary man has always been sane, because the ordinary man has always been a mystic. So I think there's a paradox there to explore. I think there's a paradox of embracing not just wisdom and beauty, but mystery, and having that be the first thing that touches your mind in the morning. So not just dumping out onto a page, not scrolling through your phone especially, but spending some time with those three categories of ideas, wisdom, beauty, mystery. Allow yourself to like get some of that sanity from that like perspective, from that context, and then begin the journaling process. A lot of times, and I'll show you in my Paper Republic what that looks like. A lot of times this can look like just me reading a psalm and finding something that's very, I don't know, resonant or powerful. I do read the Psalms in Latin. I've been teaching myself Latin for the last 3 years seriously, but kind of the last 7 years has been more of like a dabble. I'll just actually start by writing the sort of line in the psalm that I felt like was really beautiful, especially this line, consolationes tue latificaverunt animam meam. Love that line. Which is basically saying that like your your consolation, consoling me, like put in me delight into my soul. That just sounds terrible in English, but is incredibly beautiful in Latin. And usually from here, then I'll go on to either journal or make a little bit more of an entry. I'll even write down, like if I do like end up watching something on my phone, like yesterday I watched a TED talk on AI and like Eric Schmidt, and I don't know, dude. This is such like a weird spread of like reading like Vulgate Latin and then like meditating on AI stuff, but that's kind of how my brain works, I guess. Usually if I need to make like a bigger entry, I will do so either in this notebook or one of my other notebooks here on the desk. I feel like I just always have like a ton of notebooks and keeping them straight. Thank God for like indexes in the front of notebooks. Always have an index. That makes your life so much easier. So what is it about wisdom and beauty and mystery that if it's not just going to make you sane, how is that going to help you progress? I think for me, and I've talked about this in previous videos too, is like the idea of lamenting or processing grief or pain or struggle, all of that in the context of like, I think seeing other people's pain throughout time, seeing sort of that like timeless wisdom on the page, seeing some of the sort of like mysteries of like the sort of Christian sacrifice narrative that Jesus displays throughout the gospel mysteries. Man, if someone told me like 10 years ago that the Rosary was like a really thoughtful organization of the gospel to like meditate on the life of Jesus, someone had mentioned that like 15 years ago instead of just start saying a lot of Hail Marys, that would have saved me a lot of life and time. I don't think this has to be a Bible reading. I most certainly don't do necessarily this every single day. I fall off this plan every single month. That's part of the reason why I have this here, is like if I miss a couple days, I know exactly where I can jump right back in, and it just makes it very easy. Recently with Pope Leo XIV coming to be, been diving into like Pope Leo XIII's stuff. So this is a copy of Rerum Novarum in both Latin and English. I'll link it down below. This was pretty cool to just meditate on this again. So it can even be things like this, but just actively pursuing that idea of looking for both beauty and mystery and wisdom, and exposing yourself to that as the first thing that you're exposed to in the morning. From there, I think this actually leads into a bigger topic, which I will have to get into probably later. But for me, a big thing that I've been able to do now from this process is not just advance or like make progress on some of the developmental things that I've wanted to make progress on in my life, but also like begin these sort of like mini commonplace adventures. So like I've begun commonplacing some of like these core ideas or thoughts that I have on the Proverbs specifically. So like really curious about this whole idea of like this feminine energy that sort of strings through the Proverbs. This idea that like a lot of the narrative is to a son who the father is trying to make worthy. This contrast of like old and young Proverbs and like how the old interact with the young throughout the Proverbs. Healthy, wealthy, wise, or on health, wisdom, and wealth. Kind of a Ben Franklin approach to the Proverbs. And then some things on like royalty, humility, fear, and where is Jesus in the Proverbs? Because Jesus, like the whole Bible is supposed to be about Jesus, at least in the Christian teaching. I've found it very interesting to find like a narrative arc in the Proverbs. And then from this, I end up sort of reverse engineering my own thoughts through this lens and through this context, which has been really powerful. So if I'm worried about money or concerned about, you know, something with like my health, like being able to go back to some of these things, meditate on them, and then like extract what I can do, my own practical things that I can do to help me focus on those things, is just way more productive than raw brain dumping. And like I said, like that was a helpful thing in the beginning of this journey about like, can I actually fill a notebook? Can I actually get words on the page? But I think once you start building that muscle, you're gonna want some like order and structure to make that time as valuable as possible to help you progress in the directions you want to progress in. And hopefully that idea of having like some type of reflection of wisdom, beauty, and mysticism, just having that little bit of mystery will help keep you sane. This is what helps keep me sane. With that, I am sorry that it's taken me like 2 weeks to make another video. As some of you guys know, having watched my video about journaling like a Spanish fighter pilot, I got a very bad concussion, and I've been suffering from some very severe TBI, traumatic brain injury stuff. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be okay. I just had another follow-up appointment with my doctor last week. I got some stronger medication that actually like knocked me out for a few days. I'm not gonna be taking that anymore because I like had these two problems of like either being in a ton of pain and not being able to make videos, or not being able to feel anything and not being able to make videos. So I'm kind of back in that in between. But thank you to anyone and everyone who has prayed for me or sent any kind words of encouragement, kind notes. Y'all are the best. And yeah, I'll just keep on my healing journey. It sounds like it's gonna be probably another 4 to 6 months until I am like back 100 emoji. And yeah, I can't wait till that is, but that's also why I've been doing a lot more of these top-down videos. Is it's a lot less like screen time and looking at screens, which sort of hurts still to do that, but still allows me to make videos here in the studio for you all. And yeah, let me know down in the comments below, would you like to see a video on sort of like how I've evolved out of the bullet journal? I know I'm still using like the bullet journal itself, but like the system. Would you want to see more on like commonplacing? I have a whole super nerdy video on paper quality actually, which is a whole other thing with like field notes and stuff, that I don't know if it's too niche. If you're like super on board with that, let me know. There's like so much to talk about when it comes to like picking the right notebook, paper quality, the right pens, all that stuff. And I wanted to put that in a single video because that's something that I wish someone explained to me, again, like 10 years ago, but didn't happen. Yeah, let me know down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And with that, just be kind, both in life and in the comments below. Like this video to send good vibes across the internet, please. And we'll do it again soon. Later.